4 or 5 times.
You got
Granddaughter's
girls.
birthday
All set?
too.
Okay, I'll call our meeting to order, and Rob, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Least.
Here.
Mrs. Sweet.
Here.
Mr. Bear.
Here.
Mr. Whitaker.
Here.
Mr. Avery. Mr. Hannah.
Okay, we do have a quorum, so please join me in pledging allegiance to our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And this is the regular session of the Enon Village Council. This is Tuesday, August 27th, 2024. Additions to our agenda this evening.
Make a motion to excuse Mr. Hannah and Mr. Avery.
Second.
And call the roll, please.
Ms. Least.
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
That motion does pass. Let's go into the minutes from our previous meetings. And looking at those, we can take action on the Tuesday, July 9th meeting. The special meeting on Thursday, July 8th, we'll have to wait until we have our other members present. So if those minutes from July 9th are acceptable, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And call the roll, please.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Ms. Least.
Yes.
And those minutes are approved as presented. Rob, I will turn it over to you for the financial report, and I know you've got some legislation here that we may have to have a first reading on, but I'll turn it over to you.
Sure. We will start with financials for the month of July, which are submitted for everyone's review. We can go over fund balances first. I will caveat this with these balances are going to look a little bit low, but 4 days after the end of the month, we got our second half real estate assessment in, so our cash balances today are looking healthier than what are going to be on this report. End of July, general fund, $206,988.47. Street construction, $24,892.19. Our ARPA funds are down to $48,914.54. We did have several bills come in for that, mostly to do with the parking lot down there, so we have expended some money. I think we've talked about this before, but the agreement that we have with the township at present is that we will pay all those bills up front, and then at the end of the year, we'll make even, so those are 50-50. So we will be getting some money back on that, but it won't go into that fund. We'll have to account for that separately. Police levy, $196,367.01. And the special revenue fund for the police, $10,390.49. Since that time, we have had some expenses for the National Night Out, which I think was well attended and successful. In the water fund, $314,843.15. So, unless there are any questions on the monthly financials.
And just in general, did that second half of tax collections, did it meet what our expectations were?
We're slightly exceeding what our estimate was
Okay, thank you.
for all funds.
Okay.
Or for both funds that we received.
Okay.
And our assessments are also coming in higher for like lawn maintenance. More than we estimated. Maybe.
I mean, we mow the vacant lots. or-
Yeah, you put it on the tax duplicate for vacant properties or whatever, but we're about $4,000 on it.
So you'll need a motion and a second to approve this monthly report for the month of July.
I'll move that we accept the bank reconciliation for the month of July.
Second.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, call the roll, please.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Mr. Whitaker.
Yes.
Ms. Least.
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet.
Yes.
We have a resolution known as 2024-09. This sets our rates and appropriations with the county for the year. This is the county's approval of what we voted on by July 19th. This is the numbers are the same. They didn't come back with any corrections to anything that we submitted. So this is just their form that we have to adopt this resolution in their form and sign and send back to them. no changes from anything that we have. It just requires approval, but does take a suspension of the 3 reading rule, which we do not have enough people tonight to do. So we can pass this on first reading and then visit it again at the next meeting. We're okay on the time. It has to be back to the county by October 1st.
So we would consider this the first reading of Resolution 2024-09. And this is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. Okay. And talking about tax levies, I'll let you bring that topic up.
Sure. If you look at let's go to page 3 of the big sheet. And the second levy on that list, the police levy for 2.5 mils, expired at the end of tax year 23 and was not renewed. So that will fall off next year. This was the last year of collection since we do in arrears in Ohio. So we are going to do what we can to get to see what the first date of assessment for those could be if the council deemed that they wanted to put that on the ballot next year. It is too late to do it this year. I'm still waiting for answers from the county about what the mechanism would be, but likely, at least for the first half, we will see lower collections because of that levy lapsing.
And that's something that I don't remember happening in recent memory. It can be fixed, but the bottom line is we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. We put measures in place, reminders. The auditor's office does not send us a notice. They don't tell us when these things are going to expire. That is up to us. Ultimately, that's the mayor's responsibility to make sure that those things don't happen. So we have put measures in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. So, but we'll fix it. We'll get it fixed. So, thanks, Rob. Questions for our fiscal officer? Okay, let's go on to staff reports.
Did you want to have them vote on this yet?
On-
The first reading of
Do
the
we
rates?
vote on the first reading?
Yeah, it's a first reading.
Okay.
Yes, we've already had a reading. We can't take a vote until either the third reading or we can do it as an emergency after the second. Staff reports, Kevin, I'll turn that over to you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council,
Good
residents.
evening.
The first item is the Mayor's Court. You have in front of you a report for July. There was 26 traffic violations. Total funds received for this month, $4,575. Year to date, $25,628.60. Total funds remitted to the state this month, or for the month of July, $1,050. Year to date, $5,103. Total remitted to the village, $3,486. Year to date, $20,327.60. And the total dispersed, $4,575. And year to date, $25,628.60.
I'll move that we accept the mayor's court report as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions, discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mr. Whitaker,
Yes.
Ms. Least,
Yes.
Mrs. Sweet,
Yes.
Mr. Bear.
Yes.
Just a quick word, talking about the mayor's court and citations and stuff. Just a reminder to everyone that school's back in session. When the lights are flashing, it's 20 miles an hour through the school zone. It's not 30, it's not 35, and I have asked the police department to step up enforcement. I have witnessed last year in particular a lot of unsafe driving practices, and we're trying to put a stop to that. I think we are, and we're going to keep up that enforcement in the school zones to make sure that our children are safe. So if the lights are flashing, it doesn't mean 30, it means 20.
Next item, the Clark County Solid Waste Management adopted their plan for 2025 through 2039, and there is an ordinance that we have to adopt. We can do the first reading tonight. We have 90 days to pass this, so we have plenty of time. We'll do a first reading tonight, second one, and then we'll adopt it on the 24th. September 24th. So this is ordinance 2024-04, an ordinance in the matter of the approval of the solid waste management plan for the Clark County Solid Waste Management District.
And that's the standard legislation that we pass every time they update the plan, correct?
Yes,
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
they basically just send it, and I just kind of
Tweak
our-
it to Enon.
put our name in there and put it on our letterhead. So, so that's the first reading there. Item number 3, we do have another ordinance for first reading to approve our codified ordinances. Ordinance number 2024-05, an ordinance approving the codification, editing, and inclusion of certain ordinances as parts of the various component codes of the codified ordinances of Enon, Ohio. We won't, I'll cross that out, I won't even say that. That's the first reading.
And we could pass it on the second reading with the suspension of the 3 reading rule, so, yep. We'll be fine.
BZA did meet, they had a case, a variance request for a side setback for 180 Green Valley Drive for James Eversole. And he's building an addition onto his house, onto the east side of his house. And it required a variance of like 1.5 feet, so. They met and they did approve that variance. So I got him all the required paperwork, and he'll be starting some construction here shortly, so.
And we're working on training for BZA members as well. I know Elmer had talked about some, and I know Christie had been in contact, so we're going to try to get some training set up for the entire board, correct?
For the entire board, yes.
Awesome,
Yep,
thank you.
yep. Item number 4, road salt. I know it was a question a few meetings ago what we're going to be paying. So that is our contract rate, $67.55 a ton. Last year we were at $67.55. 22 we were at $69. 21 we were at $62. So kind of hadn't changed much, but
In the ballpark.
yep, in the
Yeah.
ballpark. We're in contracted for 75 tons. We ended up with kind of a lot on hand. You know, hopefully we won't need it.
Got about 75 in the bin, don't we? About 3 loads, or maybe 2?
75 or 100. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's full.
Yeah, okay, so it's more than 50.
Yeah,
Okay.
more than 50. So, Records Commission meeting is set for September the 10th at 5:30.
How's that going to be before the shredding event? Mike, do you remember? It will be.
Okay,
It will be.
okay.
Yeah, before the shredding event.
Okay.
The Records Commission, yeah, okay.
Blood drive is August the 28th, 12:30 to 6:30. They only have 5 appointments left. So if anybody's interested in donating blood, donortime.com, you can get online and register to do that. So I did get, and I give copies of that, of the solid waste management to some of the programs that they're going to be having throughout this year. So that'll give you something to read. And also, I got a little thank you note from the VFW, Post 8437. Would like to thank for the generous donation to the annual Enon Fireworks event held on July 3rd. Your contribution helped made it very successful. Please know your generosity is truly appreciated. Commander Russell Graham. So, I think that's all I have for now.
Thanks, Kevin. Any questions for our administrator? Okay, thank you. Chief, I'll turn it over to you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, residents. In front of the council, you'll see the July stats for the police department. Looks pretty in line. Citations 36. I believe that's up from the prior month, but I'd have to double check. The first week there was, I believe, was a partial week. That's why, because you would think the 4th of July week would be a little bit more, but I think that was when the partial week. I'd have to look at the numbers, but it all looks in line and nothing really stands out. Piggyback on what the mayor said about school starting up, I just wanted to remind residents and driving the buses have frequent stops throughout the village, and I know particularly in the South Harrison, Enonzini area there's been a handful of people that have ran the stop sign there for the bus drivers. That is absolutely not safe, and we need to be very mindful and stop for those children. Luckily, a lot of the bus drivers are pretty proactive in checking it. But again, I know we had that over the last few years, and our agencies, I believe we got 1 or 2 of them that have violated the res. I'll tell you, if one, that's unsafe, but if you're asking for a citation, that right there is a very good way to get one from our agency. So I just ask that people be very mindful around the school time, particularly with the buses and of course the crossing area, because we just got to pay attention. A couple months ago, we interviewed Arthur Franklin for a part-time position. If council's okay, he did pass the poly, the background, did a fantastic job on his interview. And I was hoping that as long as council's okay with it, we could swear him in at the September 10th meeting. I did talk with the mayor, and again, everything, he checks off all the boxes, so he would be good to go.
He's going to be a good addition to the department.
Absolutely. Good addition to the Village of Enon, absolutely, and the agency. Yeah.
This is a part-time position?
Yeah, just a
is that
part-time position. He does have a full-time job that he works through the week, but he would be part-time help. So, all right. I know the scout troop, we already said thank you, but seriously, Kevin, thank you so much for working on that. I saw the road department working out there. I think those flagpoles look absolutely amazing out in front of the building. I think the speed of it once we figured out how to get that pole out of the ground out there, and then of course Doug and stuff's followed up with the leveling that stuff out. I know we'll be very thankful not to have to drive around that pole. We'll get with the Historical Society and as I spoke with Tim DeVore, but I think it looks phenomenal. They did a fantastic job. I don't know what else I can say other than I was very impressed. That is not what I envisioned. Not that I expected anything less, but I'm very, very pleased. So thank you so much. And that is all I have, unless I'm missing something. If anybody has anything.
Questions for our chief? Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. There will be no executive session tonight, so unless there are any committee reports, old business, I'll entertain comments from the public.
I did have something for old business, maybe.
Sorry.
Kevin, we talked about South Harrison Street and Enon Xenia, like the shrubs that are hanging over the sidewalk there. So I noticed tonight coming to the meeting, I mean, it's real bad.
Is it?
Yeah. Like I was almost in the street looking west.
I gotta find, I know the right of way goes, I gotta
And
find
they
out
had
where the
been
right of way-
trimmed. When we had a complaint a while back, I saw that they had been trimmed, but it sounds like they have grown
Right.
back.
Yeah,
So
let
it's,
me-
the property owner is not maintaining those
Right.
properly. Okay.
I'll get a hold of them.
Okay.
'Cause I need to find, I know they're pretty much in the right of way, if not all of them are,
Right.
so,
Right.
but I'll get with the owner.
Do you
Main
mean,
Thank
Street.
you.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you mean at Main Street, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Main
Okay,
and-
thank you.
Well,
I knew what you meant.
yeah.
I just wanted to make sure
Just
that we had
clarifying.
that right. And I agree. Yeah, could I?
Anything? Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I want to say, I just wanted to say, Kevin did a wonderful job with the flag for the village. It's outstanding. Thank you.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a nice,
Turned out good.
nice flag.
Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I just have one, we only have a couple meetings before the Apple Butter Festival. Do we have anything that we need to do for that or anything?
So when they put in the request for the land use agreement, then we will announce that to
Okay.
the council. But typically, it's pretty standard. We've already talked internally about kind of what we need to make sure is going on. That'll all be relayed to the Historical Society. We got most of those bugs worked out last year. So internally, we kind of, we're fine tuning just a couple things, but we're in pretty good shape.
Okay.
So
Actually, just because of the Apple Butter Festival, we have some concerns about Rite Aid being vacated and the use of that parking lot that shouldn't be used because of liability to the owner and trespassing. So
That was one
Just-
of, I mean, that was one of the things that I was.
And that's
but I'm
something that
guessing
Kevin
we
is
need to-
actually,
Okay.
he's actually trying to make contact to see
Okay.
kind of what's going on there. So
Okay.
yep,
Okay.
that was, no, appreciate it.
Yep,
Yep, just
thank
making sure, double checking, that's always a good thing. So did anybody have any comments?
I think Chuck does.
Mr. Wozak?
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
Being one of the senior people in the village, I mean, I'll get that for you,
Duly
Mr.
noted.
Mayor. My name's Chuck Wazak, Village of Enon resident. A couple of observations with regard to school starting up. First, I saw a string of 3 bicyclists coming down Southern Vista and clearing the traffic and then turning right to go to the school. Okay? In other words, they're not coming down the sidewalk, going to the crosswalk, and it's sheltered by that 20-mile-per-hour speed zone. But they're crossing in the 35-mile zone right there at Southern Vista, Green Vista, and Enon. There's no crosswalk there, which, usually drivers use that as a target. So I'm just saying that maybe that's something that we could pass on to the superintendent over at the school as far as bicycle safety. Number 2, I know I'm old.
Duly
It
noted,
goes
yeah.
without saying, I'm mature. But coming down Green Vista and hitting the stop sign there, you have to actually pull into the crosswalk to clear the vision to the left.
Yeah.
From my mind's eye, you've got the stop sign and you've got the solid white line, and then you've got the crosswalk. You've got to go 50% in the crosswalk in order to make a stop and look left to be able to clear from the left. From my standpoint, I don't think that's right, but that's up to you. I think the sight line is impaired, but
A minor flaw in that entire project, I know exactly what you're talking about, and what obstructs it is that fence.
I was wondering if it was the fence.
I'm not here to fix
But
anybody's
I'm just
problem.
I'm just saying it's the fence that obstructs, and you've got to pull out. So
Right, and
yeah.
if the fence were slightly angled, as they do in most farm fields, when you come to an intersection, they kind of flute them. But again, I'm just calling it to somebody's attention because, when you have to pull that far out, somebody's inclination is not to stop. Sometimes, and you know how stop signs are; they turn into yield signs. So,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
thank you very much for your opportunity to speak.
Any other comments?
I've noticed a lot more bicycle riders this year for
Yep.
school. Yeah. Seems to be anyway. Maybe I just didn't notice
To
them.
go along with that, what Mr. Watzak brought up, coming northbound on Enon Xenia, I've had, I bet 10 people complain to me asking if the village can do anything about the traffic pattern that the school uses for the pickup specifically. That, why don't they put it out back, have the cars pull in around the school instead of 30 cars lined up on Enon Xenia. There's still people trying to come north that aren't picking up, and they're having to use the center lane, and then there's people pulling out. It's pretty wild.
And that's what I did one time.
Yeah.
I saw the truck in front of me. It went into the center lane to go around all of that because
Right.
they were waiting.
Right.
But then if somebody's trying to come out, it could
Right.
create a potential issue there.
So I don't know if we did anything
What do you,
with the
what do you think
traffic
the
study
solution
or.
would be?
Go around back.
To me, it'd
then
be
drop 'em off in the back.
everybody that's going to go on that pickup line, pull in off of Rebert Pike. You have,
okay.
from there all the way to the front, they can still have that line around the back and not block the buses from being able to get out.
Yeah,
I
I've
would
been asked
think,
if that
but
was considered during the build.
There's nobody here from the school. This is not new. I've had multiple conversations and suggestions. All I can do is pass it on, but you're 100% correct. That's one way to do it. There also is others, but
Can
they
you
had
make
some
a-
parent volunteers. Yes, I actually will see Superintendent Kanapke in the morning, and I will say something to him again. But it
Appreciate
has been talked about.
I mean, fair to say it's been recommended 3 years in a row now, I think.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
Appreciate it if you would pass that along from
I
us
will
again.
pass it along
Okay.
again.
Is maybe part of the problem communicating to the parents that is a possibility?
I
don't know
won't
what
go into
their-
problems.
Well,
I think
What their
it's
communication system is.
But
for
the thing
parents.
of it
That's the
is,
school's
once they
It's
start it,
school's
if
plan,
the
yeah.
school would start it and basically supervise it, once it gets going, then people
Right.
would know.
It
right?
does. It's just people
It's-
show up. If they have pickup starting at 3:15, there's parents there at 3 o'clock because they want to be at the front of the line.
That's correct.
So until they let people out of the kids out of the school, the line doesn't move. So the line just, the queue just keeps getting longer.
Right.
And it ends up probably almost to Rebert Pike on Enon Xenia.
Close.
Up until about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when recess is over, buses are double parked on the road coming off of River Pike.
That's right.
Okay.
Does that mean there's no access to the drive behind that
There's
bus?
a complement for cars.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what
The easy solution
How to
is have
solve
the
it.
cars pull all the way up to the north end of the building, but then students would have to walk a little farther. But that would relieve a lot of vehicles.
Well, let's have another conversation and see if we can't get something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
No problem.
Is there anything else?
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
6,
Meeting adjourned.
6:31.